Lots of crazy NFL playoff scenarios are still out there right now, but we also want to update you on the Damar Hamlin situation because there's good news there. But we wanted to get an expert in here. We've got Dr. Harman Deol here on the show on the Locked On NFL podcast, breaking things down. And then, of course, Chris Carter, your boy Q, breaking things down. All things playoff. We'll pick all the games that are relevant to the playoffs. It's going to be a crazy Locked On NFL episode on the Friday edition here. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And here on the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast, I'm Chris Carter. He's your boy Q. We're of Locked On Steelers and Locked On Raiders, bringing you every week's action here on the Locked On NFL podcast. As always, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered all season long with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. Q, how you doing on this Friday, man?
Man, I'm glad to be with you. It's a little bittersweet. It's week 18, and that means the regular season's getting wrapped up. So the Raiders season's about to come to an end. The Steelers season's about to come to an end. But hey, the NFL rolls on.
Whoa. Cool with that stuff, man. It might not be coming to an end. What you talking about here? There's life in Pittsburgh.
All right, my bad. You have a lifeline. It's close. It's close to the end though for the Steelers, but it is over for the Raiders after Saturday's game. So there's that.
We'll get into all of that in a minute here, but news updates for Damar Hamlin and the situation. We've been covering it here on the Locked On NFL podcast all week long. He has made progress. He has responsive, but there's been a lot of misinformation out there, and I thought it would be really good if we had a doctor, a person who could explain better what actually has been happening this week with Damar Hamlin and what do the latest signs that we've got from the doctors actually mean. So to do that, we got a good friend of mine and now a friend of the show, Dr. Harman Deol has joined the show. Harman, welcome to the show, my friend. Harman's a good friend of mine as well, but he's also the man. Harman, how are you doing on this Friday?
I'm doing well. Glad to be joining you guys. Thanks for having me on.
We thank you for making time to join the show. I want to start off the questions here talking about there has been a lot of misinformation and not just the crazy vaccine stuff, but people just not knowing what happened here with Damar Hamlin. Based on what you've heard and what's been explained by the doctors, what can you explain, as far as detail as what happened Monday night with the CPR, AED, and what all of that means?
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes medical jargon gets used and can be misrepresented a little bit. I know hearing some of the ESPN coverage, people are saying, he was getting CPR because he wasn't breathing. CPR generally for us is initiated as part of like the basic life support protocols. So part of that includes if someone undergoes cardiac arrest, you can't tell that just right off the gate. So your initial evaluation is going to be checking for consciousness, checking for pulse, see if someone's able to spontaneously breathe on their own. The faster you're able to do that assessment, the faster you're able to determine whether or not you need to start CPR. So when we start CPR, we're really looking for, one major indication is if you're not getting a pulse. So what that means is your heart is not pumping blood through the circuitry system of your body. So when we initiate CPR, you're kind of targeting the sternum area. You're doing chest compressions to a certain depth at a certain pace in order to mimic the pumping mechanisms of the heart muscles, which, are occurring spontaneously. If you put your heart on your chest, you can feel the beats. So what you're doing is externally providing the muscles with some of that contraction forces that are going to help push blood throughout the circuitry system and help maintain oxygen delivery through the body. What that also means, though, is that if someone's not spontaneously breathing on their own, you're going to have to try to supply them with some supplemental oxygen. In an emergency situation, we might use a bag. You may have seen in the past that people might try to actually provide breathing by doing mouth to mouth. We generally use bags now as well. And part of that process, once stabilized, a little bit more stabilized, you may need to secure the airway through a ventilation tube of some sort. There's a variety of methods. There can be different factors that will go into determining which type of intubation technique is going to be most beneficial for an individual, and I'm sure they assess that right away. And another term that has been kind of floated around a bit is the AED.
Right.
So what an AED is an external defibrillator.
Okay.
Whenever part of the process in initiating CPR, part of the BLS protocol is to start chest compressions as soon as you're able to determine that that's the proper next step. You're going to apply kind of these electrical pads that are going to cross over the heart area. The machines, the AED machines, actually now are quite simple to use. You power it on, you make sure you
Okay.
have the placement correct, and the machine itself is actually going to help detect, or it's going to look for rhythms across the two leads. And I keep doing this. Generally, place one on the shoulder, and then one along the side of the abdomen or chest area. And it's going to try to detect if there's any electrical impulses that generally maintain the rhythm of the heart. If those are detectable, the AED is going to tell you, all right, everybody back up. We're checking for we're checking for a rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
and advise you, this is a shockable rhythm. Administer the shock, make sure everyone's cleared from the individual. You push the button, it delivers the shock, and then you immediately start resuming chest compressions if there's no pulse or if the shock was ineffective in restarting spontaneous circulation.
So, Doc, we got the news on Thursday that sound like that there was some positivity. Apparently, Damar was able to open his eyes and awake and write down, did we win on a pad, and then also squeezing hands of the loved ones that are around him. So, what kind of step is that? And basically, where are we at as far as when you're seeing those kind of reports? Where do you think we're at with the road to recovery for Damar?
Yeah, these are great signs, for sure. Anytime someone's able to regain consciousness, this can be a step into being able to potentially breathe on their own. And also the fact that he was pretty cognitively aware. I went down during a football game, something was going on. I'm not sure whether what degree his cognition was there, or if he knows he's in the hospital, if he knows the events that took place. But it's certainly a good sign that he was able to at least say, "Hey, I know I was in a football game," and of course, the consciousness, level of consciousness is promising for sure as well. Um, where we are in this and sorry, just to backtrack a little bit to your question, also with reports of him being neurologically intact, um, without actually being able to assess Damar myself, or having like a more specific explanation of what that might mean, it's
Right.
hard for me to say what neurologically intact means.
Okay.
uh, but I think two things that I've taken away from it. I think I saw a report that he was able to move his feet. He was able to move his legs a little bit. Uh, he is producing some hand grip strength, which is promising as well. Um, and then also one thing that I noticed is that the report said that he woke up and he wrote down on a piece of paper, did we win the game, or what was the outcome of the game? And that shows some degree of fine motor skills have kind of come back. His
Yeah.
capacity for fine motor movements have come back. How, what we can really say in terms of prognosis from that, what the recovery timeline will be. I think it's honestly safest from an outside perspective, not having assessed him myself or seen
Mm-hmm.
the reports, that it's gonna still be day to day. He had a very very serious medical event that took place on Monday night, so I think still it's best to take it day by day.
Is this something that Damar Hamlin can recover from and live a full life? Like, we're not talking about football, but just being able to, like with Ryan Shazier, he was able to dance at his wedding. He's able to walk. He's able to do things professionally afterward. Is that in the possibility of things that could come back for Damar
I think
with the injury that with this
right,
situation? Yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. Being able to say definitively, he's going to have a lot of issues moving forward, or saying he's not
Mhm.
going to be having issues at all. I wouldn't be able to speak on that. But it is possible that he's going to be able to live a full life without any complications. But if that's the most likely outcome, I wouldn't be able to tell you confidently.
Understood.
Yeah, I saw a report that, Joe Mixon was saying he was having struggles, sleeping at night because he was there. I mean, obviously a running back for the Bengals. Can you see that kind of, like mental health situation where it is a struggle for these guys to get back on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking onto the mental health aspect of all of this, I think is an important thing. People have kind of been on Twitter, especially reaching out to T. Higgins.
Mhm.
I can only imagine, how he's been feeling with all of this, and I think the reports that he hasn't really even left the hospital much since the injury itself. Um, this is a traumatic event. I had texted Chris before that, as a medical professional and as a doctor, we see stuff like this happen at the
Mm.
hospital. We're trained to respond to this. As an individual who is not trained to respond to this, it can be really traumatizing. It can be something that's scary. You can wonder, like, you can start developing anxiety symptoms, post-traumatic stress symptoms, um, and wonder, especially as these athletes are expected to be going out on the field and putting themselves in a situation where a freak accident like this might happen to them as well. People get into car accidents and don't drive for years after that. People hear
Sure.
about car accidents and don't drive for years after that. So I think all of the players in the NFL are pretty aware of what's going on. The coaches are very aware of what's going on. The staff is very aware of what's going on, and I hope every organization is making sure that the mental health fallout from this is being addressed as well.
I think that's a huge thing that everyone has to kind of keep an eye on top of the health of Damar Hamlin, the mental health of
Yeah.
everyone involved. And even if you just saw it on TV, like that's
Mhm.
an event that has to be taken seriously. Dr. Deol, thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On NFL podcast. Is there anywhere people can follow anything that you post or anything that you'd like to share as before we move on here?
You know what? I have nothing to promote, but hopefully I'll see you guys again soon.
You will. Thank you so much, Dr. Deol. You've been very enlightening.
Appreciate
We'll have you back sometime soon. Thanks again to you, Dr. Harman Deol. And we're gonna move on here. We got to talk all the crazy playoff scenarios that are available right now, because it's not just a couple teams here and there. A lot of teams had their stuff impacted. It's not just the Bills, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. There were a lot of updates that came out. So we'll go over that in just a minute here on the Locked On NFL podcast, the Friday edition here. But first, we've got to talk to you guys about Prize Picks. Prize Picks, of course, is daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players, and if you guess more correctly on more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. So go to get some Prize Picks right now and put some money down. You could also do this on the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, college sports, anything sports. They most likely have it on their site. And it's so much easier than most daily fantasy sports, because all you're saying is more or less. You're not competing against thousands of people who assemble lots of lineups with all these variables. Just get more or less on your players and you're winning money from Prize Picks. So go down the Prize Picks app right now on your mobile device, or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First time users receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON, Locked On, all capital letters, one word, on the Prize Picks app or at prizepicks.com. We're back here on the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. Chris Carter, your boy Q, breaking things down here as the week is on. But now we have definitive information on what the NFL's plans are for how to handle things. One, the Bengals-Bills game will not resume. So that is done. That is in the past. It's out of the way. So there is still a consideration for who gets the 1 seed. So if the basic things come down to this, one, if the Chiefs win, they're the 1 seed. That's that. They get the bye. But there are considerations that the NFL is considering because they do understand fairness in things between the top 3 teams, as the Chiefs, Bengals, and the Bills all had shots at that top seed. So with that, they sent out some scenarios. They said in the scenario where both the Bills and the Chiefs win, there will and these 2 teams meet in the AFC Championship game. These 2 teams would play at a neutral site. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is if the Bills and the Chiefs lose, but the Ravens win, the Bills and the Chiefs AFC Championship game would be at a neutral site. And then if the third scenario there is if the Bills and the Chiefs both lose and the Bengals win, any AFC Championship game that involves the Bills, the Chiefs, or the Bengals would be at a neutral site. So
did you get all that? Everyone understand?
It's crazy.
That?
It's
Perfectly
crazy.
Understandable.
It's breaking things out. But basically, the way I understand this, Q, is that Chiefs win. If the Chiefs win, they're the 1 seed. That's right. Done. But if the Bills also beat the Patriots, it's a neutral site. So the Bills do have something to play for this weekend against the New England Patriots. And I think that's something to be considered here. The Bengals also have something to play for because technically they're still alive in this scenario. Also, if the Bengals, here's another thing that's crazy about this. If the Ravens win, the Bengals are still AFC North champions. They're official. That's done. That's decided. But
they're AFC North champs right now.
Right now, as we're recording this show Thursday night.
Yeah.
But if the Ravens win this game, it means that they would have swept the Bengals, and because the NFL recognized, like, if the Bengals had lost to the Bills, which the Bills are a very good team, that makes total sense there, the Ravens would have had a chance to win the division. So the idea that the NFL came up with is if the Ravens win and these 2 teams face in the playoffs, there would be a coin toss to determine who gets home site. That is crazy, Q.
Yeah, no, it really is, man. There's a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of things that even after explaining it, we still don't really understand exactly what it is. And so as these games play out and start rolling out starting on Saturday, we'll start to get a little bit more clarity. But it's going to have to take a little bit of games. And, the very first game is the Chiefs and the Raiders. So that obviously is going to be one that means a lot, right? I mean, that's going to be the first game played on Saturday, part of a doubleheader, and then you'll see the rest on Sunday. But, yeah, man, there's going to be, a lot of different explaining going on. And I think that probably even the teams are still a little bit confused. But I think the teams like the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, obviously, and the Ravens on the outside, they all realize that, hey, they have an opportunity to do some special things depending on what they do this upcoming weekend.
Okay, so lots of special things there, but those are the guys at the top.
Right.
Let's talk about the people still fighting for their playoff lives. Okay, let's also acknowledge this. There was a crazy rumor started by Pro Football Talk that basically, I don't know if they started it, but they were the first major people
they ran with it.
They ran with it. And so then the entire NFL world was like, what? The NFL's considering adding an 8th playoff team to each bracket? The NFL basically came out and said, no, we were never considering that. But had that happened, it would have shaken up everything that we thought we knew about playoff scenarios. But now we know 7 teams, both sides. This is the scenario. So in the NFC, we know that the 6 clinched teams are the Eagles, the Niners, the Vikings, the Bucks, the Cowboys, and the Giants. So it comes down to fighting for a 7th seed that is between 3 teams that are playing all with 8-8 records: the Seattle Seahawks, the Detroit Lions, and the Green Bay Packers. But of course, there are other seeding things to be concerned with. The Eagles, at one point, we thought they were the runaway 1 seed. Not necessarily. They play the Giants this weekend, and if they lose this game,
they shouldn't. They shouldn't. But if they do,
if they lose this game and the Cowboys win their game, the Eagles would be a wild card team, which would have been an unfathomable just a few weeks ago with the situation. Jalen Hurts also, by the way, has been limited in practice both days, so we'll see how that plays out and if they'll play him. But they clinch the home field advantage in the NFC if they win. They win 1 seed, they get a break, they get to take a week off, and how they do that. If they lose, though, the Niners would have the next chance of being the 1 seed. If the Niners beat the Cardinals, they would be the 1 seed. And if the Niners lost and the Eagles lost and the Cowboys won, the Cowboys could be the 1 seed, which again is crazy to think about at this time of the year.
Yeah, no, it really is. And so as far as I'm concerned, the Eagles and the situation that they're in just proves more and more and more how much Jalen Hurts should be the MVP of the league. They haven't won a game since he's been out. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just that simple. Yep. As good as they are, they haven't won a game since he's been out. In San Francisco, they're cooking with grease. They're going to beat the brakes off of Arizona. Arizona doesn't have Kyler Murray, right? I mean, they're gonna stomp a hole in their chest. So, yeah, if Philadelphia loses and San Francisco wins, look out. Whoa, Nelly, because San Francisco's they're playing really well. They have a good defense, even though it didn't look like that last week, but they still have a good enough defense, in my opinion, and they have a really great run game. So don't let them be the 1 seed. If they are, then I guess everything's going through Santa Clara.
Then at the bottom of the NFC playoff race, it's simple for the Packers. Beat the Lions and you are in. So that's it. But if the Packers crazy, right? But if the Packers lose, the Seahawks will be the next team in if they can beat the Rams. And the Seahawks are at home. They're at 8-8. The Rams have been struggling all year. That could be interesting. But if the Seahawks lose and the Lions beat the Packers, the Lions will be the 7th seed in the NFC. Dan Campbell, he's there's been a lot of talk about what he's did this year. If he gets this team to the playoffs, it will be one of the craziest comebacks ever.
Yeah, if he gets his team to the playoffs, I think he's coach of the year. Right? I mean, I think it's that simple. I mean, it's the Detroit Lions. I wasn't one of those that was believing the hype when it came to HBO Hard Knocks. But if whatever he's selling is working, and clearly it is, and they make it to the playoffs, then, riddle me a fool. That's fine. And give him the Coach of the Year award, because that's a hell of a job for a team that's not a very often frequent visitor to the playoffs. To make it to the playoffs would be awesome for them.
Absolutely. Flipping to the AFC, we explained kind of the craziness of the top of the order, but the other spots that are in consideration. AFC South, it comes down to Saturday night. Jaguars, Titans, whoever wins that wins the AFC South. If the Titans lose, they're out of the playoffs completely. If the Jaguars lose, there's technically a way for them to still make it at 8 and 9. That being said, the biggest things will be to watch on Sunday, all happening at 1:00. The Dolphins are kind of in the driver's seat here. If the Dolphins win, if the Patriots are the one in the driving seat here. If the Patriots win, I believe they're the team that gets into the playoffs here. Because I'm looking at because the Dolphins need. That's the thing. There's so many scenarios here.
How about you confuse the hell out of everybody?
Yeah, I listen. I'm looking at this stuff. So wait, no, the Patriots are in right now. I don't understand this thing that I looked up this thing to help. I'm going to say it the way I know it. If the Dolphins win, they're in the playoffs. If the Patriots need to. No, excuse me. If the Patriots win, they're in the playoffs. If the Patriots lose and the Dolphins beat the Jets, they're in the playoffs. But if both teams lose and the Steelers win, they're in the playoffs. But if all three teams lose and the Jaguars lose their game, that is the one scenario where the Jaguars make the playoffs. I'm sorry, I butchered the AFC North.
Yeah, did you guys all get that? Did you understand loud and clear where Chris Carter's coming from? Because I'll tell you who didn't.
Listen, I was trying to read someone else's explanation, and reading their explanation, it confused me. So I should have just gone with what I know. But as it stands, the Patriots are the 7th seed if the playoffs were to happen right now. So that being said, you look at this situation and you're saying, okay, I'm looking at these three teams. If the Patriots win, they're in. If the Dolphins win and the Patriots lose, they're in. If the Steelers win and those teams lose, the Steelers are the team that sneaks in there. But if all that happens, if all three of those teams lose and the Titans somehow win, the AFC South will actually have 2 teams in the playoffs, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, that is. So I got a headache, man. My mind is actually like going.
I'm hurting.
Just thinking about that, my man. But that's a lot of scenarios. So I'll tell you what. I'm glad we'll have a ton of clarity once Sunday night
Just get it over with.
It's over. Once Sunday night is over, we'll have all the clarity in the world. We'll know who's in and who's out, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. And that's what I'll be looking forward to.
Absolutely. Let's talk about those games. We're not doing a pick six. We're doing every game that has playoff relevance in this week.
Fire.
We'll do some rapid fire stuff in a minute here on the Locked On NFL podcast. But first, we got to talk to you guys about betonline.net. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. Head over to BetOnline right now, and they'll give you all the odds, the ends, the lines, everything you need to know as far as gambling in sports right now. They have all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and all the news you need for the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, everything sports right there. And BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoff esports and more. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more trends in the action when you visit BetOnline, where the game starts. Back here on the Locked On NFL podcast, Chris Carter, your boy Q. Let's get into the picks, because this is there's a lot of games to consider. We were trying to talk about making it our normal pick six. We focus on 6 games, but there are just too many playoff scenarios in play here to ignore. So we're going to focus on a lot of games. We'll start with Saturday night and the game that you'll be covering, Q. The Chiefs at the Raiders. It's relevant because if the Chiefs win, they're the 1 seed. Do the Chiefs win?
I think so. I think the Chiefs get it done. I think the Raiders will give them a fight for their money, but I mean, the Chiefs have so much riding on the line here. They got that number 1 seed on the line. So I think Patrick Mahomes and company, they win the game. I think it'll be close because it's a rivalry game and it's at Allegiant Stadium. But yeah, ultimately, I think Kansas City gets that dub.
The line is 9.5 according to BetOnline. There,
they won't cover that. The Raiders will. You could take the Raiders in the points, though. I'll say that.
Okay. I think that the Chiefs might put a bit more of a whooping on them, but I hear you, because 9.5 is a lot of points in the division matchup.
Yep.
The other Saturday game here, because that's Saturday 4:30 Eastern time, 8:15 Eastern time though. Titans Jaguars, AFC South showdown. The Jaguars are 6.5 point favorites in this game.
Wow.
Granted, the Titans have been in a free fall. They were at one point looked like they had the division locked up. The Jaguars stormed upwards. The Titans fell downwards. And here we are, the Jaguars favored at home. So by a lot of points for this game. I go back and forth about these teams, but the fact of the matter is the Titans have lost 6 straight to get to this point. The
Right.
Jaguars have won 5 of their last 6. I'm going with the Jaguars, and you can even keep the points. I think that the Titans are just playing too bad of football right now.
Yeah, I agree. I look at it and say, who's got the better quarterback? Jacksonville. I'm rolling with Jacksonville, and yeah, you can have those points. I ain't worried about it. Jacksonville gets a dub. Simple as that.
All right, moving along to playoff relevant games. 1 p.m. Sunday, Patriots at Bills. Patriots need to beat the Bills to have a chance to make the playoffs. The Bills, of course, 12-3. They will not play their game against the Bengals, but if the Bills win, they put themselves in the situation to either be the 1 seed if the Chiefs lose, or to make sure that the AFC Championship game, should they be in it with the Chiefs, would be on a neutral field. So the Bills absolutely do have something to play for, and they're going to be playing for Damar Hamlin. They're going to be amped. With BetOnline has the odds at Bills at 6.5. You could make it 12.5. Q. I think the Bills are going to be too ramped up about this game to win for Damar, and I think they'll be at home. That environment's going to be crazy. I think the Bills win going away.
Yeah, I do too. I've always said that once they get on the field, whenever that case was, they'd go out there and they'd have a little bit extra motivation. So yeah, I think Buffalo gets it, and I think they win by double digits.
So we're both agreeing there. Let's go to Ravens-Bengals, because this also does have an impact. I think the Ravens are in the playoffs, but they could technically force a coin toss to be the home team if they meet the Bengals in the playoffs after this game. If they beat the Bengals this game.
Won't.
Dang. So we're just not even good. The Bengals are favored by 7.
I'm just saying, Cincinnati's got this dub, man. They're playing good ball, and Baltimore's not playing good ball. Just saying.
And Lamar Jackson's still not practicing as far as going into Friday. So I'm right with you, Bengals, and you can keep the 7 points. I think that the Bengals are winning that one easy. All right, moving right along here, another playoff game that factors in the Jets and the Dolphins. The 7-9 Jets are eliminated, but they can play spoiler to an 8-8 Dolphins team that at one point was 8-3. They've lost 5 straight. They have spiraled downwards, and reports are looking like it's going to be their third-string quarterback, Skylar Thompson, who leads the Dolphins onto the field. Tua Tagovailoa has already been ruled out. Teddy Bridgewater has a messed up wrist situation that he's not looking too good. And it's not sure if he's going to be able to grip the ball with his throwing hand. Though the Dolphins are at home and the Jets have their own crazy quarterback situation. BetOnline has the Dolphins favored by 2.5. Q, where are you going?
I'm going with the Jets. I think they get the dub. Mike White is back for the Jets, and he didn't look good last week, but I'm not going with Skylar Thompson. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a good quarterback to win a game. I think that Miami continues to spiral out of control, and I get the Jets winning this one.
Okay, so you have the Patriots losing and the Jets losing.
Yep.
So you have the Browns now at 7-9 at the 8-8 Steelers. BetOnline has this line at -2.5, favoring the Steelers in this game. The Browns did get a big win over the Commanders last week. That doesn't keep them in the playoff
right.
race, but I thought it was good to show some stuff there from Deshaun Watson. He threw 3 touchdowns in that game. The Steelers have been on a roll of late. They've won 3 in a row, 5 of their last 6. Where do you see this game falling?
I think Pittsburgh gets it done. I think they do. I think they end up with the 9-8 record, and Mike Tomlin doesn't have a losing season under his belt. And I don't know if Cleveland's going to be able to get it done. And they did have.
Wait a minute.
Last week.
Wait a minute. What? You gave me so much stuff about saying the Steelers actually had a chance at the playoffs here. Do you realize that with your picks that you just made, the Steelers will be the 7th seed in the playoffs?
Well, hey, then there you go. Congratulations. My bad.
What are we doing here?
I didn't realize I didn't know. I mean, you had me with 5 million different scenarios in the playoffs.
I did explain.
I mean, I'm just telling you who I think's going to win the game. So I think Pittsburgh's going to win. So if they win, then I guess they're in the playoffs. So shout out to them.
That's why I was trying to tell you. It's not that far-fetched. Because, again, it's not like the Steelers are going to go in the playoffs and then do anything. But I was just saying, these other AFC teams that they need to lose are all the teams that
Cleveland. Then never mind. I'll take Cleveland.
Okay, fine. There you go. That's what I was. That's all I wanted was you picking.
You just wanted me to go with Cleveland. I'll go with Cleveland if that's what you want me to do. I'll go with Cleveland.
There you go.
Float your boat. Go for it.
Take Cleveland. There you go. That's all I wanted was
Cleveland. Mike Tomlin. I went against you because of Chris Carter. I was going to pick you, but it's okay.
That's
I
fine.
got the dog down.
Let's keep it going here. Giants at Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been a limited participant in the first 2 practices for the week for the Eagles. It says he's trending upwards, but there's still no definitive sign if he's going to play this game. That being said, BetOnline favors the Eagles by 14 points.
Isn't the Giants sitting everybody because they can't improve themselves? They can't improve anything, so they're sitting
I guess that's what you're banking on here. Yeah. So I'll go with the Eagles because of that.
That's a lot of points, though, but I'll go with the Eagles.
Points, man.
Yeah.
I got the Eagles. I'm going to go with the Eagles, but I'll take the Giants to cover just because I think if Gardner Minshew plays, I'll take the Giants to cover. If Jalen Hurts plays, they might get more than that 14-point spread in this one. All right, moving forward here. Crazy enough, 5-11 Rams at 8-8 Seahawks is playoff relevant because if the Seahawks win and the Packers lose, the Seahawks are in. The Seahawks are favored by 6 here. The Rams, basically, this is the last game of them being the reigning NFL champions. Right. I got the Seahawks winning. I don't think the Rams have much to play for here.
No, I don't either. I definitely believe the Seahawks win this game. I just don't think they make the playoffs because I do think the Packers are going to win. Just a little bit of a
spoiler. Come on,
man, that's what I do. Hey, man.
That being said, let's move along. Niners, Cardinals. I know this. Someone's saying, like, wait a second, why is that relevant? The Niners are favored by 14 on BetOnline, but if the Niners win and the Eagles lose, the Niners would be the 1 seed. The Niners should win this game, though, going away.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I mentioned earlier in the show, there's no Kyler Murray. The Cardinals are a dumpster fire. They're about to make a lot of changes in the offseason, I do believe. So, yeah, I got San Francisco and just running away with this one, no doubt.
Cowboys, Commanders, Sunday afternoon, 4:25 or 1:25 if you're on the West Coast. Always looking out for my man Q in his time zone. But Cardinals there, the Cowboys and the Commanders. looking at their numbers here, the Cowboys are 7-point favorites here. I think that's fair. I'll still take the Cowboys here. If they win and the Niners and the Eagles lose, they're the 1 seed. But even so, you want to go into the playoffs on a hot streak.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Cowboys get it done on the strength of their defense alone. The Commanders have been a nice story, but they're not that nice, right? And
Right.
Who wants to give Daniel Snyder's squad any extra love? And not their fault. The guys on the field that their guy upstairs is a bad dude. But I just don't. I think the Cowboys get this game, no doubt.
And then it comes down to Packers Lions, which you've already spoiled your quick pick for.
Hey man, just saying. I don't want to go against Aaron Rodgers, man. I thought he was done. I left him out in the middle of the desert and thought that it was a wrap. And here he is, man. He found a way to make himself relevant, and that's why I think that they get the W.
4.5-point favorites are the Packers. I'm with you though. I think that the Packers do win in this game. The Lions, they've had a really good run. I think that they've spent their gas to get to this point. They had a really good win against blowing out the Bears last week. If they had beaten the Panthers crazy enough, I think I would have given them a better chance here. I just think that they're running on fumes at this point. If the Packers weren't playing better football as well, I'd give the Lions a better chance. But that being said, it's the Packers. So then by both of our projections, well, I guess your new projections because you switched to the Browns.
Only because you talked me out of it. You just didn't want me to pick the Steelers to win the damn game. So that's all right. I'll go with Cleveland.
So that being said, so you have all three of those teams losing, but because you have the Jaguars winning, you then have, I believe in that scenario, the Patriots would get the 7th seed again if all teams lost and the Jaguars won, because the Titans would have 10 losses and they'd be out of the playoffs there. We also have the Chiefs getting the 1 seed, Bills the 2 seed, Bengals the 3 seed. In the NFC, we have the Eagles getting the 1 seed, Niners getting the 2 seed, Vikings have the 3, Buccaneers have the 4, Dallas would have the 5, Giants would have the 6, and in our situation, the Packers would get the 7th seed. So lots of crazy scenarios, lots of things to play out. Watch it all this weekend in the NFL. We'll be back next Friday breaking down everything that we see coming into the wild card weekend when we won't have to guess who's in the games because we'll already know. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you on the shows. Remember, you can find this show, the Locked On NFL Podcast, on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. Like this video if you saw it on YouTube. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes. Thanks again for checking us out. Back next Friday, breaking things down ahead of NFL wild card weekend.